Can I get a howdy?
It's getting louder. It's getting louder.
I want some more Billy Mays. Everybody, hey, welcome. It's your questions, your money. You're on the Fox Business Network. I'm Dega McDowell.
And I'm Tracy Burns, and by 1:30, that howdy hits its all-time peak.
Yeah.
In this hour, though, we are joined by some small business pros, just business pros, hosts of experts on the economy.
So pick up the phone and call us. Again, this is about inspiring you to go out there and do your own thing. Forget the government. Forget being mad at lawmakers down in Washington. This is about fixing this economy one business at a time, one person at a time, taking charge of your own life, doing something that you've always wanted to do, that you know that you love, that you want to turn into a career. We've got some incredible people in the next 2 hours who have done just that. And they're here to tell you how. They're here to tell you how to succeed, and they're here to share their own inspirational stories. These are products that you know. These are experiences that you will want to have. So call us, 877-249-9626, or an email is also welcome. Your money at foxbusiness.com is the address. But first, let's bring you up to speed on some news that is moving around this world. Who says working for the government doesn't pay? The Wall Street Journal reporting, our sister company, reporting that the director of President Barack Obama's National Economic Council, that is Larry Summers, hauled in about $5.2 million in compensation over the past year from a hedge fund. That is D.E. Shaw, a well-known hedge fund, and Larry Summers also earned hundreds of thousands of dollars in speaking fees from major financial institutions like Goldman Sachs.
And sources also telling the Journal that MGM Mirage has hired Morgan Stanley to handle the possible sale of MGM Grand Detroit and Biloxi's Beau Rivage Casino. The Las Vegas-based MGM Mirage is under heavy pressure to raise cash in order to meet its looming debt obligations on its $13.5 billion in debt. Vegas is just drowning, though.
Yeah, for all the companies that are hard hit, struggling under mountains of debt, well, the markets see some good news. At least take a look at how the Dow did in the most recent week. That's a one-month chart. Look at that run-up off the bottom there. The Dow's up nearly 21% over the last month, and on Friday, it closed at its highest level since February the 9th. And coming up on Tuesday, earnings season kicks off unofficially, well, officially, let's just say that, with Alcoa. But again, let's point out in terms of the markets, we had an incredibly kind of unnerving jobs report on Friday. 663,000 jobs lost last month, more than 5 million since the recession started. But again, what is the market telling us? Maybe it's a head fake, but maybe not, about the future of this economy.
But dig into those numbers. We usually had government hiring. We did not see that this time. Nope. And we also had the number of hours worked during the work week shrunk.
Speaking of the future of the economy
and why you have to do it yourself.
The future of the economy and the history of this economy has been about small businesses, individuals going out there, starting their own business, doing their own thing. That is the topic for this hour and the next 2 hours. But let's kick it all off talking to someone who did it herself, an idea that was conceived on a bike ride out on Long Island. Liz Morrell is the founder and CEO of Fizzy Lizzy. Liz first got into the beverage business in the summer of '96. When she was out riding her bike on the North Shore of Long Island, not long into her trip, you realized, I'm not going to sit here, Liz, and tell your story because it is too great for us to steal it from you. Because, again, your business was literally conceived in just a day, and it's grown over the last, more than a decade.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I started Fizzy Lizzy because I always used to mix fruit juice and sparkling water, which is what Fizzy Lizzy is, but could never find it in stores. And I would often also pack a big glass bottle of grapefruit juice and a separate liter of seltzer when I went bike riding. And I'd have to drink half the grapefruit juice before there was room to add the seltzer. And it was just one of those moments when I thought, why, this is so obvious, why, doesn't this already exist?
And how big are you now, though? Tell everybody.
Well, our sales are over $1 million, between $1 and $2 million, and growing strong. Although we have been affected by the economy, no doubt, but it's always been a labor of love, and I wouldn't look back from it. I mean, it's really, really a fun a fun thing to do.
So now you're getting hit by the economy because it's kind of on the high end of the fruit juices out there. You just do fruit juice at this point, correct?
Right. And it's fruit juice diluted with sparkling water.
Right.
So we like to say it's, a better way to get your juice. Certainly healthier than soda and a lot more delicious than just plain flavored seltzer. But what's really surprised us was that while Fizzy Lizzy is the best brand in the category, certainly the brand with the most real characterizing juice, most authenticity, our products have always been, 10 to 20 cents a bottle more than the competition, or for a 4-pack that might translate to 50 cents more a 4-pack. And we never thought that those pennies essentially would make a difference in our sales. But they have.
Liz, stay right there. Right now, we want to welcome everybody who's listening on the radio. I'm Dagan McDowell, along with Tracy Burns. 6 minutes after the hour, time to welcome those listening on XM and Sirius. This is the Fox Business Network, here to answer your questions about your money. And this hour, the next 2 hours, it's about being a business owner, running it, doing it on your own.
Yeah, inspire yourself.
And growing it.
Get inspired. Call us with your ideas, 877-249-9626. You can always email us at yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. Don't do it while you're driving.
And our panel this hour also to answer all of your questions, give you incredible insight. John Rutledge, of course, is here, chairman of Rutledge Capital. He advises everybody from individuals to governments to pension funds, and he was one of the principal architects of the Reagan Economic Plan in 80-81. How many presidents have you been an advisor to, John?
All of them since Jerry Ford.
Lord.
So, yep.
You're looking mighty stylish today, I might add.
Absolutely.
Well, he was also at the bar for Ladies' Night, actually, as was our next guest, Dani.
I've been inspired.
So he's been casual ever since.
Been inspired.
Came with the plunging neckline.
And then Dani Babb is here, of course, author of The Accidental Startup and founder of the firm that bears her name. She has got an illustrious, long career, and what don't you do? And then we want to welcome Pat Powell of Powell Financial. Pat is here, President and CEO, who can answer all of your questions about investing. But Pat, you're again, people don't think of you as a business owner and operator, but you're an independent business owner.
Sure have been.
So
for
you're
20 years.
Wearing many hats, and so Pat can weigh in an untold number of ways.
Before we move on, though, if we could
let's
talk quickly to Liz, because I think your story is so inspiring, but because your product is not a straight-up juice, you are now under this umbrella where New York City is proposing this fat tax. So your product has fallen under this.
Yes, although I'm glad to say that the tax is not going to get passed. We have that official word from Albany.
But you were very involved and very vocal in stopping that.
It was extremely frustrating because, we're all for creating incentives to reduce obesity and to teach kids and consumers in general, how to eat, the most wisely. Our objection was the fact that not only is our product kind of uniquely nutritious for a carbonated beverage, but we were going to be taxed, whereas other beverages that had far more sugars and calories were not going to be taxed. So it was just a very irrational, poorly written piece of legislation.
All the government.
Irrational from the government? Is that what you said? Yeah, you just...
Arbitrary, unfair.
They ought to keep the hell out of your kitchen and out of your bottling plant.
But we're here to give you ideas about how to take advantage of what the government does offer that's also good. Again, because Liz, we want to explore more of your story, but we can do it because people can call in and ask you how you did it. And Michael is on the phone from New York. Michael, you're with all of us. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
What are the best home-based businesses to do in this economy, tough economy?
Home-based.
Oh, gosh.
Dani can start, and then we can.
Great.
Because Dani always has a list.
I have too many lists. Okay, the best home-based business is the one that you are most passionate about. But if you're not really sure what you want to do and, you've got lots of ideas, The ones that are most sought after are the ones that you can take your prior experience and apply them to the new market, particularly online. That would be online bookkeeping, online personal assistant, web developer, things that are creative that people don't want to hire a firm to do anymore because it just costs too much money. So things like creating graphic arts for small businesses and websites, hosting things on the back end for a website. But really, I think the key is to figure out what your experience and your passion drive you to do, and then go have a blast doing it.
John, you got anything you want to say?
That is exactly true. And in this economy, there's also, do you want to swim with the current or against the current? Those are all with the current, because today people have been laid off. People are worried about cash. They're hoarding cash. So producing businesses where you have to haul stuff around and make physical stuff is tougher than services. Using the internet is great because it gets you no distribution cost. You can have one customer, and you can work part of a day. So you don't have to take all or none. That's the beauty of the internet, and the internet's especially good at services, but also for distributing products like yours, Liz, because you can take micro brands like Fizzy Lizzy.
Thank you.
And you can distribute it all over the country. We had a guest on a few weeks ago from Overstock.com. They have a specific part of their site to sell things like yours. There's another site called Foodsy.com. And they also specialize in selling micro brands because you need to get that brand into people who are a long way away.
But what about the question between whether or not I should franchise something? Maybe I should go out and buy a franchise. Or do I do what you did, Liz, and come up with my own product?
Well, I would say, you know, it's great to come up with your own product. And again, I would agree that, you know, if you're going to go into a business, it's really do something that you're passionate about, because you're going to wind up putting in so much time and money and everything, sweat equity, that if you're not passionate about it, you're going to really burn out early. If there's a franchise that you already, you know, love, if it's a company you already love, absolutely investigate it. You know, I think you should really look at all the options and do what you love.
Liz, when you first started the business, because you talked about how you came up with the idea, what were the first steps that you did? I know, because people call very often with Mary down south, who has this sauce that she wants to make. But again, dipping sauce, you run into, actually, it's great on black-eyed peas, apparently. That's what she said. She's running into headwinds about how do you manufacture it in your own kitchen. And I want to know some of the hurdles that you overcame to get these drinks bottled and on store shelves.
Sure. Well, the very first thing that I did was I made a slew of phone calls to everybody from the editors of trade magazines. I'm going to get all this mail, and I know when I get back to the office. But I mean, from those editors. But seriously, I called them and I asked them if they might have a couple minutes to give me advice. And I also called all my prospective suppliers, prospective co-packers. You can call trade organizations and ask to speak with people there. And, you know, obviously I always would offer to pay for their time. I mean, sincerely, I mean, you have to do that. Some people will take you up on that and some won't. But, you know, the bottom line is talk to people in the industry and, you know, find out what the costs are. Obviously try to get some experience, which I didn't do, but try to get some experience ahead of time and, you know, go from there.
But you got your product out there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you gave it out. You just gave it to people. I mean, what did you do to get it out there?
Well, what I did was I actually made a lot of phone calls, finally found a bottler, and did an initial production run because my product is not something that I could have made in my kitchen and just taken around, unfortunately, because it has to be professionally pasteurized. So what I did was I did the smallest initial production run that I could, and then I literally put product in a cooler with ice, and I rolled it down the street, and I went door to door.
How you do it?
You know, asking to speak
How did you fund the original production?
That I funded with, you know, some small savings I had combined with an investment from my founding partner, who's a food scientist.
And what she was able to do, she did it all herself. Instead of many of these franchises, they require so much upfront from you that they really impede your ability to succeed. So what Liz was able to do was to do it herself. She did her own research. She did her own run. And I think she increased her odds of success both in the short run and in the long run.
We got to take a quick break. Incredible stuff here. Liz Morell of Fizzy Lizzy. Go to her website and check it out. Find out if it's in your area. Dani Babb, John Rutledge, and Pat Powell. Plus Tracy. Hot stuff. We've got more straight ahead.
I can pick up my case of Lizzie.
Welcome back, Fox Business Network. It's Saturday. We're here. We're having fun. We're taking your questions. I'm Tracy Burns.
And I'm Jacob McDowell, stepping all over Tracy's read. It happens in TV.
It's Saturday.
And we're giddy. We're busy talking with Liz Morell of Fizzy Lizzy. She's just one of the special guests we've got coming up in the next, hour and 45 minutes. We've got experts here to answer your questions about being a business owner, starting a business, growing it, surviving through some tough times. The number to call, 877-249-9626. Or send us an email to yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. Megan is on the phone from Connecticut. Megan, that is now my home state. Megan, what do you want to know? Go ahead and ask.
Thank you. First, thanks to Liz for giving us that information. Part of my question was what to do once you have an idea, because I tend to get a lot of good ideas but feel kind of paralyzed on what to do next. And so what Liz told us was great. But what about protecting intellectual property?
You definitely want to do that. So I would say go speak with an intellectual property attorney who will, the first thing you need to do is to run a trademark search to see if your name is already being used. And that attorney can do that for you. And assuming it's not, then you apply for the trademark. And that takes about 6 months. And you go from there.
How do you do that on the cheap?
If you want to, there's a few ways to do that on the cheap. First of all, you can go to LegalZoom.com, and you can actually do the search online, and it's pretty inexpensive. But also, if you really only need a patent for a year to try things out and see where it's going to go, you can get a 1-year provisional patent, which doesn't really require an attorney. It's pretty straightforward to write up and send in yourself. That buys you a year, and then if things are looking good after a year, go from there and hire an attorney and get the real thing.
Liz, what have you trademarked? Because I know the term physicist, F-I-Z-Z, is also trademarked.
Right. We have trademark physicist, of course, and the brand name Fizzy Lizzy. And we, it's interesting. I don't know what this says about Americans, but when I do product demonstrations, I'd say easily 1 in 5 people who taste Fizzy Lizzy says, "Oh my God, that would be great with vodka." To which I reply, "Well, that's a Dizzy Lizzy," which we've also trademarked. So I think that's it for the time being.
You can trademark your butt off for not much money, and I think it's good to try and clear the space around your name as much as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Many people, though, make the mistake of thinking that patents are going to protect you. Patents for things that are really quality, authenticity, and the like, and they aren't like a secret formula, they won't buy you a warm bucket of beer. And so basically attack the market, get the margin, get the brand in the consumer's minds. That you can protect with the consumer. But you can spend a lot of money trying to patent something and turn out being disappointed at the end.
So do you not patent it then?
IP lawyers are going to hate me.
Do it on the cheap. You can still patent it, and I think you still should, despite that. But you don't. I wouldn't go out and spend $6 or $10 grand on an attorney right away.
But you can also hear from Lizzie what she's actually doing here. She's taken a basic idea, she implemented that idea, and she's already thinking about other possibilities. Some came from customers, and so the idea of a Dizzy Lizzy, it expands where her product can be sold.
All right, well, we're going to take a fast break. Dizzy Lizzy will be back. More answers to your questions ahead, so keep those calls and emails coming.
Nothing dizzy about the Fox Business Network. It will make you giddy, not dizzy. Stay with
Giddy Lizzy is the next one.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It might be your Saturday morning. We're already into our Saturday afternoon. Welcome to the Fox Business Network. We're here. We had our fannies up bright and early this morning because we're fired up about what we're talking about today. We're here to answer your questions.
All of them, especially about your budding entrepreneurial ideas. So call us, 877-249-9626. You can always email us to your money at foxbusiness.com.
I've been so excited. I've been on the verge of using an expletive a couple of times
today, right?
which I've never, ever done.
I can help you with that.
No, don't. Don't you dare. John Rutledge. Okay. Don't even think about it. On the phone.
We got good bleeps and buzzes, just in case, lined up for you. All right, we have Jody on the phone from Texas. Hey, Jody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name actually is Wes, and I'm from California, San Francisco.
Go ahead, Wes. We don't care. We love you anyway.
Well, I love your show in general, and thank you guys for taking my call. But I'm a small business owner, and I was planning, like, toward the end of this year, within maybe the next few months, prepare myself to grow my business. I'm a hair salon owner and a spa in San Francisco, and it's really in a small size. And I'm just wondering, with this economy, what do you think? Is it something I should not be afraid of, and to grow my business and start hiring more employees and relocate and get bigger, or should I hold back till I see what's going to happen till the end of this year?
Okay, Wes, don't hang up because we're going to have questions for you. But one quick thing, right now you have just one salon and spa, and you're thinking about moving to another location and adding staff or opening a second branch?
No, just to move and like relocate and get bigger, because where I'm at now is really small. So I'm going to relocate and get just bigger.
Wes, you know what? Sometimes the best time to do this and to strike is in a recession. And that's what I'm doing myself. And it's what I've been recommending people do for some time. There's a lot of things. First of all, almost everything is going to cost less, which is excellent. That includes... I'm sorry?
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I really agree with you. And I was really, my motivation really becoming even more because just this reason, that because I can get a better location for a cheaper price and all this stuff. But I'm also afraid if I put everything I have and I just lose everything I have because I don't know what the economy going to be ended by.
You know, you very well may end up in a position where your new space doesn't cost any more than your old space. If you have an area and a really hungry commercial property manager, you might actually not end up with many more costs. One thing you might want to strategize into, I don't know where your salon fits on the, on a 1 to 10 scale in terms of price and so on, but maybe differentiating and adding some low cost, some high cost, and that sort of thing to cover your behind during the recessionary time, but to continue to maintain your brand integrity in the process. But suppliers are going to give you better credit, which makes it a very good time. Business to business prices have never been better. You can get great PR by going against the trend. You can buy better equipment, for example, at a much cheaper price. There's low money and no money down deals. You can negotiate the heck out of the rent so that for the first 2 or 3 years, you're not paying any more than you are today, and maybe as an escalating rent price in the future. There's so many opportunities. I'd hate for you not to jump on this.
But, John, I think his concern is it's a spa. That's the first thing people drop,
it's
right?
a luxury.
Who's going to get a massage when they don't have a job?
Thank you. It's a luxury more than just necessary.
So I understand. I, for one, will still be getting massages. My kids won't eat, but I'll get my massage. But, John, what should he be doing here?
First of all, I have 2 daughters in San Francisco. They should go and use your
services.
There you go. So, and they have lots of friends. But I agree with you can grow and you can get a lot of stuff now to grow with. And you can also do good deals with people because people are popping up available from your competitors right now, too. I think probably your business, so the location may be the most interesting part because some of the best locations in San Francisco have been trashed the most in the property market. And you may be able to upgrade your location and pick up some pricing and gross margin at the same time you're picking up volume.
But I also want to go...
I'm sorry for interrupting, but my location as it is, I'm in Russian Hill, which is one really of the best location in San Francisco, just right after maybe downtown or so.
Don't leave.
But I'm planning to be just in a busier street, even in Russian Hill, instead of being in Van Ness.
Wes, how is business right now? Because again, the economy is weak, so you can kind of judge how your business is holding up.
I'll tell you exactly. I'll come down to the point and tell you exactly what the problem. My business is doing great as it is. I'm not going to say like it's growing or getting bigger, but of course I can see the business is getting less, like not enough people as used to be comparing to last year. Right. But my fear is if I move to the new location, to upgrade the size of the salon, it's going to be maybe 2 or 3 times of the rent I'm paying. And that's really what scares me because one of the reasons that I succeed with my business as it is, as my cost, especially the rent, which is the basic thing of the commercial, it was really low or a good deal. So
you can consider that rent, and when you're talking with your landlord, consider an escalating rent, one that doesn't freeze today, but gives you a cheaper price today when things are more difficult. He doesn't have a lot of other possible renters, and so he might be more willing to take you on the idea that 2 years from now he can escalate that rent and sort of make up. So he's going to sort of finance you. The other thing is you need a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. What happens if you go down this road and you don't realize those sales? What are you going to do? What are the ideas that you're going to put into place to make sure that you succeed? If you're opening up a brand new salon, maybe your customers can actually provide some of the financing. Sell gift cards, but sell gift cards at a discount. If you're going to buy a $50 gift card, I'm going to give you $55 on the card. What do you have? Free financing, cash, and that encourages people to say, well, oh geez, I'm going to get a massage every week for the next 5 weeks or every week for the next 3 months. And what they'll do is they'll give you 3 months of financing, so they've prepaid that. And what you
I think you should do take-home massages where you come to people's homes, massage, we'll pay it. But Lizzie, how do you handle this right now? I mean, you said yourself earlier that 10 cents on the bottle has made a difference to people.
Sure.
So are you offering incentives and discounts to keep people in the product?
Are you growing? Are you willing to take the risk to grow now?
Well, we're actually, I'm pleased to say, really holding our own right now. But at the same time, you know, we keep on seeing our competitors slash their prices. And so, yes, I mean, it forces us to go in there and fight that fight. So I would say, you know, it's obviously a balancing act. When you're a really premium brand, you don't want to, you know, first of all, we can't lower our price that much because we simply can't afford to. And also, you know, we want to signal to people that, you know, you get what you pay for. So it's definitely a balancing act. And there's some, you know, also, I'm afraid that you really do it on a case-by-case basis with each individual distributor, with each store. But yeah, I mean, we're, you know, getting asked to do more promotions.
This happens every time we go through one of these tight cycles. 94, Coca-Cola had to discount prices and the stock price fell, but they came back. And the beachfront hotels in Hawaii are always full of people. They use their price to stay full. The second hotel back from the beach is half empty in the bad times. You have a premium price product. So a little bit more flexibility on the pricing will allow you to keep selling it away from the discounter, because everyone's now thinking generics, and generics will not take over.
But to wrap up Wes's question, Dani, because he's saying he's concerned about the cost of moving to this new space at a time when business is, from what it sounds like, soft.
Right.
Do you take that risk, or do you wait to make sure that you can get a much lower price, that it doesn't cost that much?
I think the concern about waiting is that somebody else is going to jump in it before you get an opportunity to, because there's a lot of people thinking that this is the time to strike, get ready for the rebound. Wes, I had a friend that did exactly what you're talking about doing. And it was in Mission Viejo, California. And what he ended up doing to survive this downtime is renting out a lot of the space to other stylists within the organization, within his company. So that's another option too. I think you could survive it. It sounds like you have you understand the market. I would go for it myself, because this is a time to strike before somebody else does.
Stay with us.
All right, we still have plenty of time for your calls, your emails. Call us, 877-249-9626. You can always email us at yourmoney@foxbusiness.com.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You be well. Love San Fran. Lived there for a year in North Beach. Not quite as ritzy as Russian. Stay with us, everybody. Next hour and a half, we're going to keep talking about running and starting your own business. Stay with us.
Happy Saturday. Welcome back. This is Your Questions, Your Money on the Fox Business Network.
I'm Dagan McDowell. Tracy Burns is here. Let's get right back to answering your questions. Sybil is on the phone from Colorado. Sybil, where in Colorado? I live there, too, in addition to San Francisco.
In Littleton.
I know it well. And what do you want to know, Sybil? Go ahead.
Well, I could be possibly coming into a little small nest egg from an unemployment claim. And my concern is that I want to start a small wedding consulting business. And I'm not sure if this is the right time to even step into the small business market and even try to start a business. And I don't want to lose my nest egg in the process.
Right.
It's interesting, actually. I did a few interviews this week with the people from the jewelry industry, and what they're saying is everyone's cutting back except the brides. The brides,
I've heard that.
nobody cuts back on the wedding.
Well, speaking of, not to sound like Dennis Miller and just kind of spiral out of control with the references, but Wayne Rogers, who's on the Fox News channel. Wayne is one of the co-owners of Kleinfeld, which is the giant bridal gown store. And again, people are not cutting back. And
he says he's seen no drop-off.
So let's talk about starting a wedding consultancy, Dani. Because,
Absolutely.
again, consultancy, that sounds good to me.
No,
it says no real estate.
No real estate. You can do this from your home unless, of course, you're going to sell gowns, which might be something you're going to jump into in the future. But there's a few things people, particularly women, don't ever want to splurge or don't ever want to cut back on, right? They have a few excuses in life to splurge. Rebecca Diamond and I were joking last night about how diamonds are always one of them, and that's a constant.
And she's
no
one to
booing
talk.
over here. And then the other thing is weddings. And I have a lot of friends in California who own small companies that do this, and they have not seen hard times throughout the entire spring wedding season, and all of the planning has been maintained because nobody wants their own special day to be ruined by a recession. So I'd say people are finding a way to finance it. If you could offer, I've done this with a bank before where I actually created my own card, my own credit card, and then got residual money back from people using the card. If you can create your own lines of credit for these people and extend it at a pretty high interest rate, you're going to capture both markets. You're going to be able to get these brides, but you're also going to make money on the back end on their financing.
Where do you start with, anybody jump in here, but where do you start advertising your services? How do you even go about doing it?
At the hair salon in San Francisco.
On the internet.
Well, she's in Colorado.
The not.com on the internet. First place, brides are going to be searching the internet to get ideas. You want to be out there. You want your name out there. So somebody's going to hit it and see what you have to offer. And this is a very low entry. I mean, there's a low cost of entry to be a consultant here because you put you have to do the marketing, get it up on the internet. But essentially, this is not like having a storefront, which is going to cost you a small fortune.
And Liz, couldn't she do like her first few for nothing, just to get her name out there, just to say, look, this is the most fabulous wedding and I did it, and charge almost nothing at first?
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic idea because word of mouth should not be underestimated.
Especially among women and brides.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and diamonings.
And diamonds.
I'm sitting here in the middle of 5 women, so this is a dangerous subject. But someone has to speak up on behalf of the fathers in this thing.
Whose fathers
there is maybe not for you, but there is a cash issue out there in terms of dollars and size and the like. But the beauty of what you're talking about is it's not a rolling stock business. You don't need a place or a bunch of equipment. You need customers. And where do you get the customers? I agree, the internet's a place to start, but you can also go around to all the meeting planners in the hotels. That's the first grab somebody makes is the space. The meeting planner will help to drive the brides to you back the other direction. So you've got to find a corral of customers, and the consulting side of it means you can do this with any amount of time, and you don't have to put up a lot of cash. I don't think you need to risk your nest egg to do this.
And I would just like to support anecdotally what Dani was saying. I have talked with a number of couples who are getting married and tried to talk to them about cutting back and how they could save money, and the bride never buys it. Absolutely. The groom's in, but the bride, it's her day, and it never happens.
And Pat, though, do you see that even fathers, no offense, kind of lose their mind a little bit when it comes to Daddy's wedding?
Girl.
Right.
Daddy's little girl, and and all it's the best day of her life. It's the thing she dreamed about since she was 3 years old. I think women, we need some other dreams, but but that is what happens. And as I said, brides just don't buy into the idea of thrift.
Man, cheap wedding. 8 people, no, 10 people.
For you. Yeah. Well, one thing that you can do too is you could Sybil, you could go to places that sell complimentary goods, the gowns, the jewelry, all the invitations, all these sorts of things, and have some way to give them a referral fee so that the bride is overwhelmed and doesn't know how to do all of this stuff, and while she's taking care of the stepkids and her job and all this stuff. and then give them some cash back for the referrals. That's another way to build fast business.
They'll give you the samples and the books and the stuff you need to show the bride.
We've got another caller. Tricia is on the line from North Carolina. Tricia, are you with us? Go ahead, ask your question.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for taking my question.
Sure.
I have a very dear friend. I'm trying to assist her in starting her business. She is developing a cookbook, which is more than a cookbook. It's more about passion for family and food. She does have a wonderful personal story behind it, and a connection with the Latin community, some celebrities therein. Her book is going to be Spanish, island, Italian food combination, and I don't know how to help her get it published or get it promoted.
I can help with
smiling,
that.
But
I did 8 books in 2 years, so let me give you a little bit of advice in the publishing business, okay? First of all, the very first thing you want to do is grab the Jeff Herman's Literary Guide to Agents. It's a big, fat book, takes you forever to get through, but you're not going to actually have to read it. What you're going to do is just thumb through to the cookbook section, which is probably going to be about 60 pages long.
Say the name of that book again.
It's the Jeff Herman's Literary Guide, Guide to Literary
But Dani, make that point, because the publishing industry, based on my experience as well, because I wrote one. I don't know how you did 8. One was like labor. You need an agent to get in these publishing houses.
Yeah, it's very true. You know, in television today, you can kind of get in without a publicist, but it's not the case in the book business that I have found, unless you're going to self-publish. Now, the margins are higher in the self-publishing area, so it's something you might want to look at, which is, you know, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, they have their own self-publishing thing, which is something that John could talk more about. I've always used an agent and sold through publishers, probably made less money doing it, but had greater distribution. So what you're going to want to do is create a one-page query letter. There are examples. I've actually got them on my website, thebabbgroup.com. I have examples of query letters out there. Take a query letter. It has to be one page, and all you're going to do is solicit for that agent to look at your proposal. The proposal is going to include a sample chapter and all of the marketing elements that you're going to need. How is it different than everything else out there? What is out there? What page by or chapter by chapter, what's going to be in the book? What's the table of contents? Once you can get an agent interested in the proposal, they'll shop that around for you to the publisher.
But that's a very good point, because I know as a first-timer, I didn't realize how important it was nowadays. You need to sell yourself. You need to present your marketing platform to the table. They're not going to do this for you. So if she has celebrities backing her, that's a home run right there.
It is a home run. Tracy brings up a fantastic point. The very first time I was asked 2 years ago, well, what's your platform? And I said, well, the book's going to help me get a platform. And they said, no, you need to have one in order to get one. So it's kind of like credit in that regard. And so what I would really recommend that you do is think of absolutely every avenue you could possibly pitch this to, who might write your forward that has some credibility behind them, who you could list on the back that's endorsing the book. Get all that stuff lined up front and put it in the query so that the agents are interested right from the bat.
John, what about self-publishing, though? If it's a cookbook, would that be a better way to go than going with it or trying to get an agent first?
Some of it depends on why you're writing the book in the first place. If you're writing it to make money, distribution, agent definitely can give you a big boost. If you don't find someone who will take the book, or if you're writing it for a different purpose, sometimes it's vanity, sometimes it's to get information in certain people's hands. You can self-publish yourself, and you can do it a number of ways. There's a thing called Create Space that hangs underneath Amazon that'll do it for you. Basically, you deliver a PDF file directly to the publisher. They'll print it one off at a time. You get much bigger margins, but you'll get smaller sales unless you have your own sales network, because they don't sell it for you.
Can I jump in with something a little bit general? And this might also be good advice for the woman who called in about the wedding consultancy business, which is that, you know, the cookbook market, just like the beverage market, is very, very crowded. So I would say to you that it's really important to differentiate your cookbook from the hundreds of cookbooks that are already out there. I mean, I'm sure the food is wonderful, but you need to be able to convince somebody, and ultimately the buyer for the Barnes & Noble chain or what have you, you need to be able to convince them why your friend's cookbook is different from all the other cookbooks on the market. And to the woman in the wedding consultancy business, I would also say, you know, you obviously have a better chance of succeeding if you're the only wedding consultant within 100 miles. You know, if there are, you know, 10 other consultants in your, if there are 10 other consultants in your community, then you need to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, so pick 3 ingredients and make cheap recipes during a recession. All right, we still have plenty of time for your calls and your emails. So call us, 877-249-9626. You can always email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com.
Again, we've got an hour and 45 minutes to talk about starting, running, growing your own business. This is you, your own thing. No fussing about the government and what those lawmakers are or not doing. We're talking about getting you fired up and getting you out there doing what you want. Stay with us, everybody. This is Fox Business, where we're in business even on a Saturday. Love doing it.
Do your thing.
No, it's I get breaking glassware, and
it's almost time. It's almost time. 1:30.
I can deliver a big Minnie Pearl style howdy. It'll bust your eardrums. Hi, everybody. We want to get to an email. Doug wrote in from California. He asked, when developing a food product, at what point do you need to have the nutritional labeling done? How does that process work?
Okay. Well, you absolutely need to have it done before you put a single package of your product out there for sale. You know, obviously both because you want to protect yourself, you want to protect the consumer, and no decent retailer would take a product without that anyway. The way to do it is to, well, the way I did it was, as I mentioned earlier, my partner was a food scientist. You can, you know, Google food science professional organizations to find a food scientist near you. There might also be, I would imagine at this point, some cheap ways of doing it on the internet, but you definitely need that label, and you just submit the nutritionals, and the company that does the analysis will spit back the label to you.
Quick question, because if you're just testing your product and say, I'm going to start a beverage, I have a beverage idea and I've had it bottled. If I'm going to give it away initially and let people taste it, do I need to have the nutritional labeling done at that point? But is it only when I'm selling it?
You know, that's a really good question, and I am not 100% sure of my answer, to be honest, but I think it really depends on how formal the giving away process is. I mean, obviously, if you're giving it away at your best friend's party, then, you know...
I think Kool-Aid stands. I mean, there's,
you know,
there's ways to do it.
Exactly.
In the guy's store where he's fronting your product,
right.
he may want to.
I mean, if you have an understanding with the person that, you know, is helping you out, that has the venue, then I think you're fine. You might want to get something in writing.
We hear this question a lot, that people call us in, they say, I want to do something, but I check with my local officials, and they say it's hard. There are guys that try and stop you from doing stuff all the time. So you don't want to break the law, but you want to push. And pushing here means starting your marketing.
You can go into like a local coffee shop, and there's like a local baked product. You know, somebody's aunt makes cookies, and she puts a little pretty sticker on it and
dipping
starts
sauce. They sell
but
dipping
there's
sauce.
or dipping sauce. But there's no nutritional label on that cookie.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, I think John's point is that the accountants and lawyers often stop a lot of deals. They stop a lot of businesses from going forward. And it's trying to find that balance between pushing yourself forward and not getting yourself in trouble by breaking any of the laws.
Not just accountants and lawyers, it's like the county health officials, anybody involved in government.
All those guys want to help you. That's right.
Quickly, Liz, how did you wind up with a partner who's a food sentist? Did you know that person?
No, I didn't. And that was also partly luck, but a friend of mine who's a nutritionist gave me a list of food scientists across the country, and I made a bunch of phone calls, and one of them was to my ultimate partner, Abe Bacall, who's got a consulting firm in New Jersey, and I simply wrote a letter asking if he could do the project with me, and he wrote back, and he said, I sure can. It'll cost you X thousands of dollars, which I didn't have, but I wrote him back, and again, I said, you know, I wonder if I could, I can't afford your services, but I wonder if I could, you know, hire you to just consult for me for a couple hours, and, you know, whatever your rate is. And he basically invited me to his office for an informational interview, and we hit it off, and the rest is history. I want to go back earlier, though, to just emphasize
let's take a quick break.
Sure.
Well, we're not history. We got an hour and 10 minutes to go talking about your business, starting one, running one, growing one. Stay with us, everybody. 877-249-9626. We'll be right back. Your questions, your money, your business. Tracy's left. Why are you...
We're having fun. It's Saturday.
And we're excited to be here and answer your questions and get you fired up. As fired up as we are. On the phone is Sean from California. Sean, what do you want to know? Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to know, what are some alternative ways, aside from loans, that you can find funding to start a business?
Sean, any particular type of business that you're thinking about?
Well, I actually tried to start a business with the money that I saved. And I ran out, and so I was looking for some more funding. I don't have credit.
All right, Sean, what kind of business is it?
It's a service business. It's called Fix It All Property Improvement and Care. And basically, it's like a brokerage or a referral company for property improvement and care, residential and commercial.
Okay.
Okay, so is that the same business that you had started last time and ran out of cash for?
Yeah, I started it, and the monthly recurring fees, like for websites and everything, along with taking care of myself, because it's just me. It became very strenuous, and I have to pick a roof over my head first, and so.
Well, first of all, for web hosting, I think you had just said web hosting was killing you. I would go to GoDaddy.com where you can get it for less than $10, and I think it's unlimited amount of space. So check that out. I think one of the important things here, I've tried to do something similar myself and came very close to running out of cash because I wanted to do everything myself. And that's where it's important to bring in some contractors. If you're managing, right now, first of all, there are tons of rentals out there, okay? We know that investors and people who can't sell their homes and need to move are renting out their homes like crazy. So the market for what you're doing right now, the timing couldn't be better to actually start it and grow it. I think one of the things that you're going to have to do is figure out how to get entrenched with the existing property managers so that they come to you for maintenance, which basically means probably kicking them back some cash. So that's one way to help boost your business. And then partner with other companies that can do the things for you so that you're spending your time arranging things rather than actually going out there and doing it for them and then taking a margin off of the top.
Can what Sean's doing play into the staging business with the banks who now have so many properties for sale? Because these properties are not being maintained and so forth?
Well, the banks are counting more on the counties to actually take care of it for health hazards.
Right.
There is some opportunity there to get in touch with local banks.
Let's talk about the funding question.
Yeah, for funding.
Because, again, I was reading an article, I believe it was in the Journal this past week, about how credit card funding for businesses is, I mean, the lines there are being cut off as they are everywhere else.
Yeah, since you don't have your own credit, one thing that you'll want to do is start a company that has its own employee identification number so that you're starting from scratch with a business identification number. And I don't know if you were using your own personal Social Security number before. That will help you qualify, particularly if you're in a distressed community, for loans with the Small Business Administration. And there are loans specifically for people that are trying to fix up communities that are having trouble, particularly with distressed properties. And that one is called the Community Express Loan. You can go to the SBA.gov, click on lending types, then click on Community Express. It'll tell you how to apply for that. You can get up to $250,000 with no collateral if it's in a distressed area. If it's not in a distressed area, they're going to want to see that you've got 90%, 10% is your money and 90% is theirs.
Lizzie, how did you start yours?
Well, I, financially speaking, put in some of my own money. Abe, my partner, put in some of his.
So you went out and got a partner basically to help you start this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, most of the investment was mine. And again, if you're going to be manufacturing something, you want to obviously look for a co-packer who will let you do it with the smallest minimum production run possible. Ideally, it's something that you can make out of your garage or out of your kitchen. But again, there are resources out there to help you. There's a small business development center here in New York State, possibly where you are too.
But did you have tough times where you were like, I'm drowning, we don't know what to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, we went and got a loan. We do have a line of credit from a bank. I would just say, another great resource is SCORE, which is Society Corps of Retired Executives, something like that. Anyway, score.org. It's retirees in all sorts of business fields who hook up with you to give you advice. I'm sure you can find somebody in banking or a related field to give you advice.
Well, Liz, we can't tell you how incredible your advice was in the last hour, and we thank you for being here.
Thank
Liz
you
Morrell, Busy
Wonderful.
Lizzie. If you haven't tried it, please do.
Go on the website. It's so fun. Find a physicist near you.
And try us. You got another hour. Call us. Good morning if you're in the West. Good afternoon if you're in the East. This is the Fox Business Network. Your questions, your money. I'm Dagan McDowell along with Tracy Burns, and we want to hear from you this hour. Again, talking about this hour, stimulating the economy all by ourselves, by starting businesses, owning them, growing them, making this country doggone great. Greater.
Hail, hail, entrepreneurs. Don't put down the coffee cup. Keep drinking your coffee. Relax. Have a good little hour with us. Call us 877-249-9626. Actually, you should make more coffee. Or email us at yourmoney@foxbusiness.com.
If you want to have the energy of a Tracy Burns, it's going to take 2 cups of coffee and about 5 Red Bulls.
You know what? Gave it up.
Amen for Red Bull.
Tracy, I know Tracy Burns stopped drinking caffeine. How long ago?
Pigs flu last week.
How long ago?
I did, though, in January.
So how's the Ritalin,
That's why you
Ritalin working? Is
my kids don't want to come in the house anymore.
Right. No, and Tracy is legitimately, I can attest to this because I've known you 10 years or so, more than 10 years. Tracy legitimately gets excited about talking about taxes. And again,
that's legitimately why I sit home on Friday night.
We're talking about more than taxes, though. It's about you. But first, we want to take a quick look at the headlines. President Obama praising NATO allies for, quote, concrete commitments to help push American strategy in Afghanistan. NATO allies agreeing to send up to 5,000 more military trainers and police, but NATO allies are balking at sending more combat troops. Mr. Obama making the comments after meeting NATO members in France, Strasbourg, France. Minutes ago, he arrived in Prague, the Czech Republic.
All right, so how much is the world's cheapest gasoline, and where is it? It's 12 cents a gallon, and you can find it if you get yourself on a plane in Venezuela, but maybe not for long. Falling oil income and slowing crude output may force President Hugo Chavez to jack prices for the first time in 12 years. I didn't realize it was so cheap.
Just don't.
Yeah, it's because they control they own the oil essentially, right?
Yeah.
John?
When I was last in Kuwait, you drove into the gas station and you fill up and you don't pay anybody. It's free. Because this comes right out of the ground there, you know?
When I was last in Venezuela, they tried to steal everything I had, so...
Well, they do that. They'll do that, too.
PDVSA is the government-controlled oil company, which, by the way, owns Citgo. There you go.
Right.
All right, moving on. The Boston Globe reporting on its own website that parent company, the New York Times company, is threatening to close the Globe if it can't persuade the unions to make $20 million in concessions and do it quickly. You take a look at that New York Times stock. That chart speaks for itself. 1 year, it's trading at $5. Again, many of those newspaper companies hitting hard times.
We've had a bunch of them on the web only now.
Aren't both of the Chicago papers in bankruptcy, the Sun-Times and the Tribune?
Yep.
Well, speaking of making it in this economy, we're talking about businesses, business owners, and let's welcome one. Michael Wudaika is the Enclave Inn founder and owner. The Enclave Inn is only minutes away from the Atlantic Ocean with 5 prime locations in Bridgehampton, Southampton, Wainscott, and Long Island. The Enclave Inn opened March '99 and expanded. How long ago, Michael, did you expand?
About every year and a half, 2 years, we got acquired a different property. So slowly, steadily, but surely, we've been walking through it all.
How are you doing in this? We should just sum up your general location. It's in the Hamptons.
It's in the Hamptons. Yeah, no, it's in the Hamptons.
They don't allow Jersey girls in the Hamptons.
Yeah, they have a
Tracy
border.
has to go incognito.
The border police come out and they're like, yep.
She has to wear...
Back to the shore, girl.
Yeah, Tracy has to wear flats. What else?
Well, it's the IROC every time.
No, but Mike, we want to know how business is doing.
Well, we had a tough little winter coming through, But we're looking at a great spring. A lot of people aren't going to be traveling like they were in the past, and so you're only 2 hours away from the city. We've got a ton of people out here. There aren't a ton of rooms, so I actually looked at a marketplace, something in the market that didn't have the ability to grow too much, and accommodations in the Hamptons. You can't build anymore. They are what they are, and so I just started acquiring market share. So.
But you started in Detroit. I mean, that's
the backstory,
right?
Which is a lot like the Hamptons.
Right now, yes. And then one day
a lot
decided.
Of open land.
Tell us. I want to know more about the
what made you do it?
Days.
Well, I was actually in the automotive industry back in Detroit for a while. I'd been involved with a lot of different things. Grew up in inner city Detroit and had bounced around different businesses. But when I was in the automotive industry, there were a lot of acquisitions and mergers, about 2,000 the year that I left. And I just called home and I said, you know what, this is not for me. It's, I either have to work a lot harder, a lot smarter, or else I want to be a full-time dad. I had 2 young boys at the time and decided to make a life choice. So we sold all of our stuff and got rid of all of our toys and came out and moved out to the Hamptons and then said, oh no, there's no business out here. What are we going to do? So I found the hotel and we bought the first one for Martha and Alexis Stewart, which was a Bridgehampton motel, and slowly started acquiring market share after that. So we've been very fortunate and really just total life change. Just wanted to be a full-time dad and really take care of the kids and not really worry about work, just make enough to pay the bills and grow. So
we're ecstatic that you're here, Michael, because people can, again, it's not just about starting and running a business. These are life decisions and taking charge of your own life. But we want to right now welcome everybody who's listening on the radio. I'm Dagan McDowell, along with Tracy Burns. It's 6 minutes after the hour. We want to say a big howdy.
No, do it again.
No, I'm not going to do it. Everybody on XM and Sirius who are tuning in, this is the Fox Business Network. We're here for you to answer your questions about your money.
I don't know why she's holding back with that howdy thing. Call us, 877-249-9626, or you can email us to yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. All right, we have a great panel, so get on the phone, start calling us. Joining us, John Rutledge, chairman of Rutledge Capital, chairman to all countries, big and small, pension funds, you name it. He's here, and he'll answer everything. Dani Babb, author of The Accidental Startup and founder of the firm that bears her name. She, too, faculty member, wrote 1,000 books, knows how to get loans from, like, everyone, including my mom, I think, at this point. She can suck money out of. Jordan Goodman, also here. Jordan has his own business website, author, co-authored 12 books on personal finance.
Jordan, what's the website?
My website is moneyanswers.com, and my latest book is called Fast Profits in Hard Times.
Excellent. Did it just come out?
Just came out. FastProfitsInHardTimes.com is the website. There are ways to do really well in this economy. You bet.
All right.
Again, we like to hear that. And we indeed we do. And then also here is Michael Woodika of the Enclave Inn out in the Hamptons, in case you're in the neighborhood.
And Michael has other stuff, too, that we have to talk about because he has dipped into the web.
Right.
Black Book 2.
Black Book 2, exactly. In God's Social Network, which is a Christian-based Facebook. But, Black Book 2 is a perfect example of something. We're giving out free e-faxing, voice over IP, a lot of free tools that normally cost $10, $15 a month. We're giving them away for free. And building into that, we just hit 10 million users, growing about 80,000 members a day. So we're really fortunate about that.
Giving it away for free just to drive traffic.
Drive traffic,
and
absolutely.
Sell ads.
Yes, we're ad revenue. But also, as an advertiser gets a little better, you sell those emails, the good emails that you have. That's where your revenue comes from. But we actually scrub all the emails, making sure that they're clean. We're not having 16 from one person. But it's a great site. We've been very fortunate for it.
Which auto company did you work for in Detroit?
I was I sold to the OEMs, a tier 1 supplier, the Becker Group. Chuck and Bruce Becker, they were great people and grew a company. I started with them when they were doing about 30 million. 7 years later, they were doing $2 billion, give or take. Sold the company at a good time.
But parts companies, that business got a lot tougher in the last 6
Absolutely.
7 years.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
After the consolidation binge, they came in and crunched everybody.
Sure. Well, I want to say I got out at the right time.
Michael, I'm interested in what's the branding for your inn? What's the price point? What's the customer? What are you using to try and draw someone?
Not Jersey girls.
Not Jersey girls.
That's what it says.
Well, that's all it says. That's it. No Jersey girls. Just shy of that, though. We have our tag is your choice for lodging in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
What I tried to do is I really didn't want to make it a crazy full-time job. They're all small strip motel, those sorts of links, between 10 and 20 rooms. I've got 85 rooms total between the 5 locations, but I'm the largest chain in the second largest number of rooms. So right there, you take a look at it, and you walk out from a big city, and you walk into the Hamptons, and you realize they're not, you know, it's just a small little mom and pop shop. So how do you market on that? I did a lot of guerrilla marketing initially, but what I look at, the price point is clean, simple, higher expectations what the price point really has, but I also look at what my competition is doing and reduce their costs. And I just basically do it in common business by reducing my debt service, being smart about it, and I can go toe-to-toe with anyone because my debt service and I'm more efficient than most.
That keeps you having to fight it out with the business travel branded guys because the large business market has become almost totally brand-driven by people popping off rooms on a website. They want to know that it's a Marriott and what it's going to feel like when they get there. But when you're away from that business market, you can do a niche business and attack it.
How do you do during the winter?
We great. Again, I just get aggressive, whether it's monthly rentals or, you know, we run $60 a night right now in order to do it. We reach out to the construction crews because there's a lot of construction, a lot of building going on. Even this winter, there was a lot going on.
Any food?
No, that's a crazy. I own a restaurant, but that's a crazy business.
Guys, let's get a call.
Sure.
Wayne, are you on the line calling from Texas? What do you want to know?
Well, I'm going through disability, and as I talk to friends about businesses, one of the things I've got to figure out is how do I quickly determine the ROI on a business I'm looking at?
The return on investment.
Right.
So, what's your business?
What are you looking at? What kind of business are you looking at?
Yeah, franchises. My friend's actually in a day spa. You were talking to somebody about a day spa earlier, and he's kind of losing his shirt. So I'm looking at this going, how do I quickly determine if what they're offering me, when I put my name and money up, is going to give a reasonable return on the investment?
Danny, the franchise business is interesting to me because you walk in the door with this immediate brand recognition, right? So I go put a Domino's by a college campus. To me, that sounds like a home run.
Right.
But
tanning company and use a franchise, or to start my own and expand myself. And I chose to start my own and expand myself because the initial outlay of costs, I could already own my equipment and have my lease paid for the next year. So that's a decision you have to make in terms of return on investment. I'll leave it to the more financial savvy people here.
John, how do you figure out your return on investment?
Well, if a guy's asking that question, he's probably looking at it from the point of view of an investor placing capital rather than an owner-operator getting in there and lighting up the French fry machine in the morning. The franchise
in a spa, it's more like, you know.
The ultrasound.
Oh, absolutely. But the franchise business, the franchise industry in America is a highly, highly developed industry. And it's one where there's a lot of information on the websites. What you get out of it is branding. If you have an IHOP franchise, people show up, they know the pancakes. You get working capital because a lot of these franchisors will actually finance the front end of your business for you. But what you lose is the ultimate control down the road. So if you have a little niche market and you want to be an owner-operator, I would think about starting first, franchising second. If you're just trying to place capital in a business and back somebody, I might want to go the franchise route.
But it does depend on the size of the franchise as well. There's a lot of smaller franchises out there. For instance, my brother has one, CRDN, Certified Dry Cleaning Restoration Network. And what they did is they actually took all the local dry cleaners and they actually qualified the dry cleaners, but went in and helped them have business. They help them with their promotion, help them with their leads, help them with their sales. So you already have all the tools in place. Only thing it is expanding your business based on what you already have. So it really depends on the franchise and what you're looking at in order to make it practical. So, I mean, I think the question is relatively broad, you know, get a little more specific, but, you know, you have both sides of the coin. You've got your McDonald's, your Subways, and then you have the other small mom and pop franchises, Molly Maids, and those sorts of things.
If he doesn't know about the day spa business, this is a way to get in there quickly because they've already made the mistakes and they know how to do it. And they've got all the branding and all that. Makes it easy. If you're just starting from scratch with a business you don't know, it's going to take a long time to get up and running.
What about getting into quickly, John, getting into a business that maybe isn't your passion? I mean, because if you approach it as an investor, it doesn't matter. Well, you ran Stairmaster at one point, didn't you?
I've run 30 of them at one point, but some with good success and some without. But
do you have to care deep down about what business?
Basically, at the bottom of the day, you have to love it and you have to be meaner than hell because there's going to come a day when you have a business of your own when everybody's kicking the hell out of you and you think, I can't do this anymore. And then you look at the alternative and say, I'm not going to go work for those guys. So you buckle down, you go back and you do it one more day.
But if you're an investor, why do you care? It's dollars and cents.
Investors and operators a lot of times are the same people.
Right.
So it'll be somebody who has some money in their family, but they want to control that money. And I wrote a piece for Forbes once upon a time called that was about buying a car wash in your own town. You can control what happens in that car wash in your town. If you put money in a mutual fund or something, you don't know what's happening to that money.
And you also have to look at an exit strategy with franchises. A lot of them, depending on what's happening, how do you pull your money out? So you want to make a 1-year, 5-year, 50-year commitment. You know, that franchises have a big difference in that as well, as far as what's your exit strategy.
We can answer anything. You call us, you email us. I can't, but these guys can, and this gal can. Call us, everybody. You know the number. The email address is yourmoney@foxbusiness.com, and we will be right back.
All right, we have a call from Michael from Arizona. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. What's your question?
My question is, we started a new bed and breakfast, built everything green energy style, and we're just trying to find the right marketing avenue. I mean, we've been open a year. The economy's bad, I know, but most people are taking staycations and staying closer to home. We run very lean and are pretty much self-sustaining here. But we've got a great website up. We're trying to market that a little more efficiently and target groups for folks that do take bed and breakfast spots. But we're just trying to find out some better marketing avenues, get our website out there so we can meet the need.
Michael, what do you think?
Oh, that's for me. Okay.
Well, he's Michael, you're Michael. So what does he do, and how does he do it on the cheap?
Obviously, Chamber of Commerce is a great way to start. You know, you can go to the Chamber of Commerce. Almost all of them have their own websites along with their email. You can email blast. That's another great thing. Go to other businesses that have emails, restaurants that send out email blasts to their customers. Share those emails. That's on the cheap. You've got the postcards, which you can get 4-color postcards now for $100 with, you know, these overnight things, which are great. Also, barter. Bartering is wonderful. You go out, in the commercial, everyone here is basically staying in the Hamptons for free in order to get me on the website. So you can barter that way. So, you know, you use your bed and breakfast, bring out editors, bring out reporters. If you've got people that are actually visiting in the area, invite the magazine out. Stay with you for free for the week, and they'll do a little spiel on you. It's great. You know, you have to get back to basics. Everyone likes it. They save costs. They don't mind. It's a great place. So.
You might even buy some keywords online, so that if people are looking for your town, your income's right up there.
Yeah, I have about 100 URLs that I.
You know, if you go to Google and go to his town, it'll come right up as that kind of.
You go ahead, Dan.
Here's one important thing you need to do, Michael. First of all, go to adwords.google.com. This is Google's way of letting you set a maximum threshold per month or per word, etc., on what it is you want to have pop up on the right-hand corner of the Google screen when somebody Googles bed and breakfast or your town. Okay, so that's an important one to do, and you can set a threshold. Mine set it like $100 a month for various things. And then, you know, Michael was saying to get buddies and affiliates involved. That's been something that I've had some pretty good success at, which is finding partners who have complementary or supplementary goods in some cases, and we have marketed each other's site. Get somebody to create, you know, for $50 a banner ad for you, a college kid or something that's doing web design, and then trade banner ads on each other's sites. That's another good way to do it for free.
Let me give you a niche idea. In this business, I have a daughter who runs a bed and breakfast in Solomon's Island, Maryland, and huge success. It's a small place, but her shtick was that she is a chef. She went to chef school. She's a wonderful chef, so she would host special dinners, and she would invite people to those special dinners who could then go out and virally market for her. One of them was a writer for the Washington Post. She got a column in the Washington Post. She now is being buried under requests for her thing. So the real one thing is, where are you? Where's your location,
Basically try to give it away for free a little bit.
The guys who come into your bed and breakfast are probably not going to be guys within hailing distance of where you are. They're going to want to come in. So you're going to need to go to the press in these surrounding places, driving distance, and invite them out.
All right. So you got to be
free.
aggressive, Michael. As we go to commercial, we want to give a shout out to our radio listeners on Sirius Channel 145 and XM 168. Thanks for listening.
Call us. We've got so much more straight ahead, starting and running your own business. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. I'm Dagan McDowell along with Tracy Burns. This is the Fox Business Network.
And we want to hear your questions about your money, specifically about your money questions starting a business, your entrepreneurial spark. You want to do something, you're sick of working for the hierarchy, call us. We have great people here. 877-249-9626. You can always email us at yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. All right. We got Al from New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. I've been waiting all morning for this.
Let me get the IROC out of the garage, Al.
How you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for calling.
What's up? What's your question?
Well, I have approvals to build a small resort project in upstate New York at Gore Mountain Ski Area. And we've got about $1.5 million invested. We have a prototype model up, and we can't get funding. I mean, it's impossible. We're looking for either investors or funding, and we have a few sources, and we haven't turned up anything yet. And we're really looking for some help to try to either find some funding or get some investors.
Have you got a business plan that's really compelling as to why an investor would want to invest with you?
Yes, I do. I have a building plan. I have a performer, sales marketing plan. I've got all the budgets done. We got our construction drawings done. I've got anything that anybody would want to look at.
And have you got experience in this field that would convince an investor this is going to work?
Yes, I used to work for D.R. Horton for many years doing all the infrastructure. I'm going to plan on building it. Plus, I used to own a hotel, restaurant, bar down in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands back in the 70s. So we do have the expertise.
Wait, so Al, so is the problem more the business? Are the banks having an issue with the fact that you're trying to build in this awful economy right now?
That's what our funding people, that's what they're telling us, that they don't want to lend money for hotel. But this thing is so far along. We've been working on this thing for 3.5 years before the economy went bad. And the amount of money that we need is not that much.
How much do you need?
We need about $6 million.
What kind of rate of return would they get? How quickly would an investor get a rate of return on that?
Well, it'll take a year to build the hotel back. It'll take a year to build a hotel because it's a 22-suite hotel. Rate of return, you'd probably get it back in, I would say in this economy, 3 years at the most.
John, do you want to take it first? Because this is what you do for a living, so invest. So
absolutely.
Tell him how to go get the
money.
Well,
the issue, Alan, I don't like to be a downer, but from the point of view of the private equity industry right now, they have so many projects they're looking at where they're effectively being a loan shark, where the bank has disappeared, the mezzanine lender has disappeared. So you can bring in money that's guaranteed by assets and get 20, 30% returns on it. They're so distracted, it's hard to get their attention right now. And especially that's true in the hotel field, where they're just very skeptical. So as much as I want this to happen for you right now, I'd want to make sure that I have a bulletproof plan to survive the next 12 months to 18 months until the lenders and the private equity guys are back on their feet again and they're coming back your way.
We're paying our taxes, we're paying our insurance, we're maintaining the
And by the way, Al, I forgot, send us your stuff. Email us your stuff. I get stuff from people every day. Okay. The stuff I can't do, I always send out to other people. There's a vast network. RutledgeCapital.com is the website. jr@RutledgeCapital.com is the email address. But I will push any project along to the guys I think are the best investors for it. Every investor does that for each other.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. And we'll get in as many people's hands as possible.
But Al's story is, go to South Beach, and this is the story down there. Construction began, the money was cut off, and now what?
Look at Las Vegas, even at City Center.
Yeah,
$8 billion project.
Projects.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You know, here's a couple of ideas that you might want to take a look at, and you may have already. But I would check out virginmoney.com because there's people on there looking to invest in smaller projects, you know, in the millions rather than the billions, like in Las Vegas. And also, I would look at startupnation.com, which is a bunch of people like you in similar situations who share their story on how they overcame the problem and ultimately became successful. Those are two of my favorite sites to look at. You're above the threshold of what the SBA is going to,
That's important because this size of money in this project is going to be financed by an angel investor, an individual or family, right in this market, not by a private equity or a venture kind of guy.
Also, what you have to be careful of, it's great to be able to find the money, but someone coming in with venture money is going to take a large chunk of the value. And then you have to ask yourself,
that's the very best part of it.
Right. Well, no, that's great. But on the other side is, you know, here you're building it. You've already spent a lot of time. You put a lot of money in, and now you're going to be working for somebody. You know, you can go out and get a job. So you really have to look at the investor and really qualify the money coming in. Is it really worth it? I know it may be a dream, and I hate to shatter anyone's dreams. Trust me, I've done a lot of different businesses. But you have to sit back and say, does it make sense? Does it make sense for me to work this hard for 10% of the business?
Is it possible there are people in your area, other businesses that would benefit by yours being successful, that you could go to them as angels because they would benefit by your success to some extent?
Well, we do have some investors that want to put up money once we get the main funding for the resort itself. We have an investor that's going to actually build and finance the sewage treatment plant that's going to be on the resort site. We also own a small private airport that's right next to the property too. That'll be part of it. And we do have another investor that's willing to sign personally for $5 million if we get the loan. So we do have, you know, people involved, except we just need to find that cash. And this is what you would call a shovel-ready job that'll create jobs immediately and then long-term jobs because it's a niche market up there at Gore Mountain.
Maybe get some of the stimulus money. They're looking for shovel-ready projects, right? That was a joke.
Knock on the local congressman's door, knock on the local county guy's door, see if they have any avenues for money for you.
Right, because if he's going to potentially bring jobs to the area, I mean, you would think they would be willing to listen.
Thank you.
We want to take a quick... Al, thanks for calling in. And best of luck to you. And John gave you his email address. We've got more calls and more answers to your questions coming up. 877-249-9626.
You can email us, yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. This is the Fox Business Network, the only business network working our butts off on Saturday in true HD.
And a big howdy to Tony from Massachusetts.
Was already on the nose for all who stuck around and
They
waited
were giving
for
me a
it.
hard time about not doing that. I hope, Tony, did that wake you up? Tony's on the phone from Massachusetts with a
Thanks
question.
for taking my call.
Absolutely, Tony. Welcome to the show. It's good to hear from you. We're here to answer your question. Go ahead.
Well, my wife and I started a business a couple years back and started the business, you know, using business and personal credit cards to get it going. Now, the business is in a cash positive spot where we're finally making money, but a lot of our credit card companies, even though we haven't missed payments, have started raising our interest rates and starting to drop our credit limits.
Happening all the time.
And really just trying to see what options or ideas you might be able to provide for us to be able to maybe get the rates down again and start being able to get it paid off.
Danny,
I want to follow up. Do you need these credit cards to fund your kind of daily and weekly operations in the business?
At this point, we don't. You know, we just needed this as startup revenue to get the business going at first. Now it's to the point where we're running, you know, cash positive month to month, but with the rates going up, the credit card companies have raised our minimum payments, which is now cutting into the cash positive position that we're in.
How much debt are on the cards?
It's about $120,000 total across about 5 cards.
And what are the interest rates? Where do they go from and to?
Well, they started off, you know, around 2, 3, 4.9% was our highest, and now we're at, you know, the lowest we have is 16%, all the way up to 28%. So,
killer.
Now the
trying to
new
get to a
laws
better
kick
spot.
in next year, right? That prevent these banks from changing credit card rates unbeknownst to these poor people.
Yeah, and they're finding ways, of course, around it with all the agreements that none of us ever read because they're like 15 pages long. But, you know, I've had exactly the same problem and the same experience with Bank of America recently. And my team and I went on a 2-week mission. We talked about this yesterday on Happy Hour. We went on a 2-week mission to find out what the heck was going on with Bank of America. And I have a couple pieces of advice for you. First of all, I was in a similar position as you with about $100K on personal credit cards that I ended up opening new lines with different banks under my employee identification number on my LLC and moving the debt over there, which then took it off of my personal credit and really kept the business and the personal separate, which is something that you might want to do anyway. But with regard to the lenders, I mean, they are, particularly Bank of America, I haven't really had the problem with Citibank. I don't know who you're banking with, but after 2 weeks of calling and trying to find out why every time I made a payment, my line dropped by exactly that payment amount or whatever the principal was reduced, and having my rates go from 0 or 1.9% to between 16 and 22%. It's also killing my cash flow. So I understand where you're coming from. I was getting nowhere with people who were saying, well, the letter says that, you know, your FICO dropped or you're potentially a risk, et cetera. Very vague information. When you call, they ask you a bunch of questions like, what's your cash flow? Can you prove it? And so on. And you do, and they do absolutely nothing about it. Right. What I learned after talking with 4 or 5 people at Bank of America and eventually sending an overnight letter to the CEO, gave the address last night on Happy Hour, so you can check that out on my website at thebabbgroup.com, and it'll give you the person to actually email or to actually mail the letter to. You can talk with someone a little higher up in the organization that will give you the honest truth, which is that if you've been in overdraft once or twice in the last couple of months because your husband bought dog food that you didn't know about, or if you have a negative amortization loan on your portfolio, whether you're paying the interest or not, they're considering you a high-risk person. Since all of this debt is on your personal credit, anything that you're doing personally is causing them to make a decision about your credit. And what they're saying to you in the letters are completely dishonest. So you have to get to someone high enough in the organization that can tell you what's really going on and what decisions they're really making, and then basically threaten the heck out of them, which is what I did, and told them that they could either have the real story come out that had a happy ending or a story that came out that had a not so happy ending. They chose the happy ending. I got my lines restored and my credit percentage, my interest rates dropped. But you're going to have to be diligent, and you're going to have to take it all the way up the food chain at these banks.
I really want to help you because there are places that can help you in a situation where you don't have to kind of write to the CEO and so on. There are national nonprofit credit counseling groups that already have arrangements with the creditors to get you lower rates you cannot get on your own. You don't have to go through all this letter writing thing. There's some really good ones. My favorite one is called Cambridge Credit Counseling. Their website, cambridgecredit.org. I know their phone number, 800-897-2200. And what they do is they have existing arrangements with Citibank, with Chase, with Wells Fargo, with all these places to get you, 5, 6, 7%, whatever it may be. You consolidate all your debt, both business and personal, into one payment. You make the payment, they disperse the money, and depending on how much debt you've got, in 4 years or something, you're out of debt, as opposed to having it over your life for the rest of your life. It's going to be killing you. It's considered a neutral in your credit report. It'll be considered a DMP. It's considered a neutral in your credit.
But there is one thing. I have worked with a couple of those or help other people work with them that have been successful. But one thing I have noticed is that if you've got a counselor that's doing this on your behalf, whether it shows up in your credit report or not, let's say you've got Citi, Chase, and Bank of America, and all 3 of them you've had some sort of negotiation with. The banks know it, whether the credit report knows it or not. And so getting lines later on down the road, they know that. They know that you've negotiated and you had some sort of trouble, and it may kill your ability to get credit later on. So I've had trouble with them.
John, that was going to be my question. How does a new guy starting out not use his credit card? I mean, to me, it seems like that's desperate times call for desperate measures.
Everybody I know who started a business used the money in their pocket and their credit card, all their family assets. It's the only way you can get the money to do it. But let me talk for a minute about what's happening, Tony, why this is happening to you. The banks have all been effectively now merged into one bank with one shareholder. That shareholder has created programs for them to earn a ton of money to work their way out of trouble. That is making loans that are saleable. Then all of the energy in those banks now is driving down the middle of that turnpike, making saleable real estate loans and unloading them on investor behind them. There are directives from the top of those organizations to their own loan officers, don't do anything else. I spent 2 days last week in Switzerland in meetings with a hedge fund group that's putting together $1 billion in order to come in and buy these assets. When you've got $1 billion on one side and the American government on the other side, that bank is not a bank anymore. They just don't want to do business with you. Right. So the one thing I agree with is that this is not a time to be timid. Whether you're nasty to this bank or not is not going to hurt you. Go after them and try and push to get your lines back.
There are unique opportunities, especially with local banks. Now that you're in a cash flow positive, let's say you've got $5,000 or $10,000 cash flow. Go to the bank. Say, I'm going to give you a secured line of credit. I'm going to put my $5,000 or $10,000 in a CD to guarantee my line of credit. Then you take that line of credit, pay it off. So that way you've got your CD that's actually growing money, as well as you've got your line of credit in order to pay back your debt service on your credit cards. And then you take $5,000, turn that into 10, turn that into 20. And also, regarding a new investment, when you bring your own money in, I made the mistake of pumping all my own money in. And what I should have done is I should have gone to the bank. I should have used that as collateralization, all cash, to guarantee $1 and then that way it would have been against the business. And the bank can work, local bank can work with you a little bit better than I think credit cards.
Local banks are better than the big banks right now because they're not in the heart of these programs.
And also, if you one quick thing, if you want to exchange debt for debt type, I would still, I mentioned this earlier, but I would still go to Virgin Money because since you're cash flow positive, there are people out there that might be willing to take, say, 7 or 8% on the money, and that will let you pay off the credit cards and then give the investor 7 or 8%, which at least lowers your payments.
And don't forget to tell Tony how great it is that he's got a cash positive business. In the worst economy of all time, Tony, you're doing something right.
Exactly.
But you don't want the revolving debt.
When the banks are not. Ron is on the phone from New York. Ron, go ahead.
Hi, guys. Great show.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a small real estate developer in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm very lucky because all my properties are cash flow positive. I haven't really purchased anything since 2002, and I'm looking to purchase something and running into very interesting walls. I do very small properties, 2 families to 4 families. And I had, wondered if there were any avenues that you have, come up with on your own. But I also had an idea to float, which is if I were given the same opportunity as the large entities that will be purchasing toxic assets, in other words, 6% of my money, 6% match, 88% non-recourse, I believe that all of the outstanding real estate that's, what do they call that, where it's overstocked, would disappear within a couple of months because every small developer in every state would take that deal. 6% of my money and I get the profit, and all I can do is lose 6%.
What roadblocks are you bumping into, though? Are you with loans? You can't get a loan from the bank? With financing. I mean, I have a credit rating that's, it's over 750. It's probably 800. All my properties that I do have are positive cash flow. But when I'm looking for somebody to finance, in fact, 2 of the smaller lenders that I used to deal with are out of business. When I'm looking for somebody to finance at a reasonable rate, say 75% of a project, 70%, 65%, I'm running into the roadblock of, well, can you show that you can pay the loan? Well, how can I show that I pay the loan on a $3 or $4 million out of pocket?
Right.
During the construction phase, yes. After it rolls over into the permanent, how can you look to me?
Exactly. Do you have the same roadblocks when you're trying to buy existing properties that already have cash flow, or only the new ones?
Well, the existing properties that have cash flow have a whole other problem with the lenders that I've run into. I'm looking to what I like to do is buy a distressed property in a good neighborhood, renovate it myself, which I've been doing for years, and then have it. It used to be that you do a construction permanent, roll over into a permanent. Now the hoops they make you jump through are just phenomenal.
Let me give you an idea, because I've got a mortgage company that will help you this. What mortgage I have myself is what's called the ARC loan, the automatic rate cut mortgage. And you can find out about that at arcloan.com, ARCLOAN.com, or 800-ARC-LOAN. They have a mortgage, and they're much more liberal than what you're running into right now, where every 6 months they take a look. If rates have dropped a quarter point or more, it automatically goes down, as long as your credit's in decent shape, which sounds like is in your case, and it never goes up. I got one originally in February 2001. It's come down 6 times, and I just got a letter in the mail this week. It's come down a 7th time automatically. So as rates fall, you're benefiting by that situation.
Do these things work, though, for investor properties?
Investor properties and individual properties, both ways.
Dan, is he bumping into roadblocks, though? Because, I mean, we're just starting to see headlines that the New York real estate market is coming crashing down quickly.
Right.
So, I mean, that could be the hesitation from these banks.
That's one of the hesitations. Okay, I can completely empathize with you because, well, first of all, I congratulate you for not buying anything past 2002. I actually bought in the prime of the market. I've done the construction to permanent thing where you can take one bank like Wells Fargo where they'd finance a construction thing over 5 payments, just, you know how that works. And then at the end, they automatically roll it over into a permanent loan. That thing I have found does not exist anymore. But, which is probably one of the things you run into. The second thing that you're probably running into is that if you've got more than 4 properties that are more than four residences in them, so they're quads basically, a duplex or a fourplex, and you have more than 4, the banks can't resell your loan to the government because you don't meet that more than 4 or not having more than 4 criteria.
That's why I stay in the window of 2 to 4 family.
Exactly, and I've been doing the same thing for the same reason. And I'll tell you what I did. Go to drdanibabb.com. It's my blog. 2 days ago, I posted a list of 19 lenders. 19 lenders I posted, and I listed out what each one of them is offering. My group actually called every single one of them to find out what it is out there, what we can and can't get for exactly the same type of thing.
All right, drdanibabb.com. Stay with us. We'll be back. Your questions, your money. This is a great panel, and we're all in HD.
Take care. We're here, Fox Business, and we're taking your questions about being in business, starting one, running one, growing one. I'm Dagan McDowell along with Tracy Burns. We've got less than 15 minutes to go.
So get on the phone. Call us, 877-249-9626. Email us yourmoney@foxbusiness.com. Get your questions in. All right, Denise from Tennessee, what's your question?
Hi. I've got an idea for a product, and it's a very simple thing to make, and I would need to make a prototype. But my question really is the idea itself. If I tell it to anybody, it's the kind of idea that anybody would say, "Why didn't I think of that?" and would take it from me.
All right. Well, don't tell us.
No, she wants to know about patents.
I'm not going to tell anybody. I mean, in 5 years, it could be as common as Kleenex. And people would be saying, why didn't we have these before, and how come no one thought of it before?
Now you've got our curiosity up, Denise. We're dying to know, but you just want to know how to get a patent, right? How to apply for one.
Yeah, like a patent on the idea. And I read on a patent attorney's website that it's $900 to get a patent on the idea, but you have to send in exact specs and, all that, which would mean I would have to hire a drafting student. I mean, I'm a graphic artist, and I could do it on graph paper, but it wouldn't be the spec. And then send that in, get a patent on the idea so that at least I can talk to people about it. And I'm disabled, and my husband and I are 61 and 62 years old, so my thought is rather than trying to get my own distributor, at my age and going through trying to distribute it to myself to companies or, go to meetings and send letters to chairmen of boards and things like that, I would rather go to an existing company, and there are many that do exist that use the same material.
All right, Denise, well, bravo to you for being your age and wanting to start something. Now, Danny, we talked earlier about she can get a short-term patent, so she doesn't have to spend this kind of money.
Yep. Okay, Denise, I had a really crazy-ass idea when I was 17 years old to take a network interface card and make it into a network interface card and a hub at the same time, right? Back in the days when we had hubs and not switches. And I did what you did because I didn't actually want to go create the darn product. I'm not an engineer. I just had the idea. So what I did is I went to the USPTO.gov just like you did. I got the provisional patent, which is 1 year. I think it's still $175 or $150. I drew out a rough sketch of how it worked, how it looked, and then documented how it would work which covered me for 1 year while I took it to Netgear and Cisco and all these guys and tried to get them to buy it. Ultimately, many of them said, oh, you know, we've got another solution, so I wasn't able to sell it. But that is one way you can get it for at least a year and cover yourself while you go out and shop this idea around. I didn't want to market it myself either.
So just a rough sketch and that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that complicated, not for the provisional patent. Now, when you get into the 5-year, 10-year patents, when you want an attorney involved, you're going to have to get into more depth.
Right. And she could do this on the web.
Because our idea is to, you know, come up with the idea and then sell it to an existing company.
Right.
Yeah.
Great
and
stuff.
And let them produce it.
Exactly.
Thank you for calling in, Denise. Be well. More ahead, 10 minutes more. You stay with us, everybody. Just a few minutes to get in your questions and some answers. Mike is on the phone from Connecticut. Mike, go ahead. Ask away.
How you doing, guys? I have a question. A restaurant is went out of business, and I wanted to lease the building. And I was wondering where would I, for a first-time, you know, buyer, to get $250,000. But the only thing is, I have excellent credit, but I'm like about $60,000 in debt.
Do you have experience in the restaurant business? I mean,
no, I don't. But one of my best friends been managing businesses for 15 years, but he don't want to go involved with me. But he wants to manage it for me.
Michael,
Why do you need the cash? You're going to lease restaurant's going out of business. Lease a building. You don't need cash to lease a building in this market. You're saving the landlord's butt by leasing his building. So it may be for equipment or other sort of startup.
Yeah, the equipment's going to cost me $100,000.
Have you talked to the equipment company about financing it for you, or are you buying it in the secondary market, the resale?
Buying it from the girl that had the restaurant.
Oh, that's tougher. In that case, tell the girl you'll take it and you'll pay her later.
Is this in a distressed community?
A little bit.
Which town is it in Connecticut?
Watertown, Connecticut.
Yep. Know it well.
Okay, you might check out, the max actually happens to be $250,000 for the Community Express loan. It's a 2.25 points above prime, but it's going to give you 7 years with no collateral, and you have to have a FICO above 680. So I would check that out.
Okay.
Michael, because you own and operate a restaurant.
Yes, I've got one now. I had one when I was younger, and I'd like to get out of it as quickly as possible. No, it's a tough business, and especially if something hasn't been successful in the past, like any other business, you have to look at it and ask the questions why. Why isn't it successful? And what am I going to do so different? Am I that good at what I do, right, especially never being in the restaurant business? Restaurant business is a different breed. For every one customer you satisfy, they tell one. For every customer you dissatisfy, they tell 7. So it's up against you. Your cash flow is strong. Work is getting labor is very tough.
Let's get one more question in. Reggie is on the phone from Alabama. Reggie, ask away.
Hi. I was watching your show and heard the lady on previously that talked about trademarking, and I actually want to trademark my logo, and I'm just starting my business. I don't want to expend a lot of cash, for my logo, not knowing if I'm going to be around 5 to 10 years from now. But I looked at the USPTO website and also looked at LegalZoom, and not really sure where to start, and I guess what's the best way to determine where to spend my resources.
Well, the first thing you have to do is tell yourself you are going to be around 5 to 10 years from now. Dani, he can go on the web and do this, right?
Yeah, LegalZoom's what I've used to do it, and I know it's like $300-400, but here's another site you should check out. It's called Duct Tape Marketing. It's ducttapemarketing.com, and they have some unique and creative ideas on how to trademark without spending a lot of money.
Okay.
Good, and get yourself out there and think positive. You're going to be here.
Absolutely.
John, you got something to add for him?
No, I think trademark is something you get it done, you do it as cheaply as possible. It's not rocket science.
You got to be protected.
I do LegalZoom the same way.
Michael, did you trademark everything?
Yes. And I have a lot of different trademarks with the different companies, so I get them. Sometimes they don't even work out, but we do it. We protect ourselves. Also looking at URLs before you even get into a business. Try and secure the URL. It's $3 or $5 because you may have a great name, but you can't own the URL, so why are you building a product around it? in even any sort of business that you get into. So try and secure that, as well as how it's misspelled and any other variation of those URLs you have to own.
.com, .net, all the different pieces, right?
And you can go to GoDaddy.com and you can go to NameSecure.com, and both of them are super cheap. And I've done the same thing. Babb Everything is purchased.
Michael,
Babb Everything.
We don't have much time left, but the best piece of advice, because you're in a number of different businesses, the best piece of advice you can give people in this kind of economy.
Be positive. Be positive. Be positive. That's it. Go and ask the neighbor how you can help them, how they can help you. You know, we're all in it together. Every small business has to basically be successful. How can you help each other to grow and learn? And actually, you know, don't slow down. Push harder, get smarter, get faster.
But again, be cautious at the same time about if you're getting into a business, you really have to evaluate what it might look like a year from now.
Or, you know, find a business that's struggling and how you can help them be successful. You know, why reinvent the wheel? I mean, there aren't that many new ideas out there, and I know I don't have any of them, but I just go and I help get more efficient with what I have, or work with other companies that I can help make more successful, and that's how I get my equity.
Look at things that are counter-cyclical. They're things that get better when the economy gets worse. And right now, the economy is still getting worse, I think.
Do you think that way, though, in this environment, John and Danny? Could you need to be thinking about when the economy recovers?
To Jordan's point, the gun industry is selling a lot of guns and bullets. There are people buying a lot of bullets. But I like Michael's idea that if you can find someone else who's in trouble to take out, that's a huge advantage, but then your critical asset is your ability to negotiate with that person. Do not use your own money. They're stuck in there. You do not want to replace one galley slave with another galley slave.
I think sweat equity is great.
And everybody in this market needs to remember that sometimes the best ideas come from the people actually doing the work. So if you want to learn how to sell more ketchup, maybe you need to ask the guy on the floor who can tell you to make the hole a little bit bigger.
Danny, John, Tracy, Jordan, and Michael Wadika. If you haven't been to the Hamptons, you know where to stay. You know where we'll be come Monday.